Political analyst Omry Makgoale joins us now to discuss the ANC's January 8th statement. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Makgoale, this afternoon. Did the speech hit the right notes?
Yes, I think the speech fairly balanced in my mind. It might not have offered all solutions to all problems, but it's a fairly balanced statement and maybe worthy of our times. Of course, we would have wished for more, but I think it's a fairly balanced, speech. I don't expect the president to have all solutions to the problem, and especially at the heart of these problems, the state capture. The state capture issue is a big problem, and that is what we as the ANC induced into the country. Unlike the COVID-19, which is maybe coming from outside, we didn't have much control over that. But with the state capture, it is a product of the ANC government. It is a product of ANC leaders, product of ANC members that was left and was not checked. So maybe the state capture, we must take full responsibility for it. All of us as a collective, the ANC leadership currently, and all the members, that because most of the members watched these things and did nothing to stop the state capture. So I think the state capture is our baby problem, born out of the ANC membership, born out of the ANC running the state. We could have done more as the ANC.
I know that the ANC is your political home. I can't help but ask you this question. I was listening to the president as he delivers his speech. He starts by saying that there needs to be a frank assessment of, when you look back at Nasrec in 2017 to where the ANC finds itself right now. And a few weeks ago, I spoke to former ANC President Thabo Mbeki, who calls on the ANC to have an honest conversation with itself. And this was in the context, of course, of the curse that, a number of people are saying was, put upon the party by the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who was warning the party. And he was saying that fresh out of the elections, them losing, key metros and them losing power in the manner in which they did is really part of that. And then it brings me to this point. When the president says there must be a frank assessment of where things are, how frank is frank? And what is stopping the ANC from having an honest and a frank conversation with itself?
I think we do have an honest discussion with ourselves. It's just that we don't understand the situation in the same way. Basically, the ANC was captured by the Guptas and the Watson's families, and it was captured at elective conferences. Not necessarily the last one. It was a continuation from Mangaung, Polokwane, and others. It was a continuation. So the ANC has been captured by these families, and the issue is, after it was captured, what can we do to rescue the ANC from the capture? It's still captured as we speak. Most of the people who were deployed by the Guptas and the Watson are still in charge in various offices of government, in cabinet, in municipalities. So the ANC is still captured. So the issue is, what can we do to rescue it at the moment? But to have an honest discussion is to accept that the ANC, most of the ANC leadership, are actually deployed by the Guptas and the Watson. And all you need to do is to check their diaries during the previous time when the Guptas were around. Check their diaries, you'll see how many ministers met the Guptas, the Watson, or on various occasions that Southern World and various places, to understand that the ANC is captured. But we have to say that it is the leadership or on strategic positions that have been captured. Ordinary members of ANC, the majority of ANC members are actually not captured. They are ostracized, some of them, but they are outside, they are watching as this happens. But they are not captured, more ordinary members. It's the leadership.
So, Dr. Makgoale, listening to what you're saying then, the president today spoke about ill discipline, and he says that the party must act on ill discipline. We cannot tolerate ill discipline. I'm quoting from him, and he says we must cleanse the ANC. I'm listening to what you're saying. You're saying that those that are accused of perpetuating state capture are still within the party. Is this then the ANC that can cleanse itself?
Yeah, at the moment, I'm afraid it cannot cleanse itself at the moment, according to my assessment. is not yet in a position to cleanse itself, because most of the people in leadership positions are actually affected, are actually contaminated, were actually deployed by the Guptas. So you cannot expect somebody who was deployed by the Guptas to again cleanse themselves from the Guptas and the WhatsApp. So at the moment, I don't think it's in a position to cleanse itself, but there are things that the president can do that can help to alleviate the situation, such as appointing members of integrity in the various ministries, such as making sure that the police management is manned by officers of integrity, and those that were deployed by the Guptas and Watsons are removed, so that the police can start to work and do their work. So to check the NPA, that the NPA is manned now by people of integrity who will do their work and remove those that were deployed by the Guptas. But at the moment, I think, yes.
Then, Ntate Makgoale, it really then sounds like part of the January 8th statement, and I'd like to borrow from it because he used the platform as well to talk about the structures that he says are in tatters. And the statement then says that we must be forthright in recognizing and deal decisively with the reality that ANC structures are in a poor state. Many of them are focused on internal organizational conflicts, factionalism, and furthering the self-interest of individual leaders rather than the aspirations of communities they are meant to serve. I'm listening to everything you're saying. Then it renders to naught the point that is now in the statement of the NEC of the ANC to say that it is looking to heal these fractured structures. From what you're saying, it sounds like it's an impossible task.
It's not an impossible task, but you need to have the right method, the right approach as to what to do. You need to have the right method and the right approach as to what to do. But at the moment, of course, the ANC branches are in tatters, teared apart, torn apart by factions and slates, and every structure. And some of the provinces don't have provincial leadership, as you might know. Western Cape doesn't have a provincial leadership. Free State doesn't have a provincial leadership. Youth League does not have its own leadership. All these structures are affected by the factions and the slates. And it is because of this corruption we're talking about. So that undermines the internal structure of the ANC. So I think it's a question of method, the approach to use to risk the ANC. But at the moment, I'm afraid it's still captured.
Does the difficulty, pardon me, Ntate Makgoale, but does the difficulty then not lie with the non-committal approach from some in the leadership? And I'll tell you why I asked that question. The president was in conversation just a short while ago with our political editor, Mzwandile Mbeje. One of the things that he was saying was, you remember in the week he was talking about how these recommendations of the State Capture Commission are going to be implemented and all of that. Mzwandile was very pointed in some of the questions to say that, what happens if the report implicates you? Will you step aside? But he was talking about how he will not implement the part of the report that implicates him. Now, an ordinary member that's watching, this particular interview and knows of the step aside resolution is expecting the president to even put himself out there to say, I am willing to even step down as the party president, should it be found that I need to. Is that non-committal approach sometimes from leaders also not helping matters?
Yes, well, it doesn't help much if we don't commit ourselves to follow the recommendations wholeheartedly. The recommendations of the Zondo Commission should be followed by all without exception. They should be followed by all without exception. And I would say that what we need basically is that the law enforcement agencies, the NPA, the police, should be acting on the recommendations of the Zondo Commission. And the political leadership, of course, under President Ramaphosa, should be acting on those. But as to whether they will act according to those, to respond to those recommendations in total, it's another matter. But we as ordinary members, we want them to do that.
Ntate Makgoale, I'm
to
sorry.
respect-
We're almost out of time. Pardon me to cut in there. I'm so sorry. We're almost out of time, but I can't let you go without asking you this question. We saw the Premier of Limpopo openly saying that the province will back a Ramaphosa second term. And he said there's nothing wrong with that, whereas other leaders earlier on in the morning were saying, no, it's not time to talk about conference. Listening to what Sten Mathabata, the Premier of Limpopo, said on the podium, is it safe to say that the conference is now open?
Look, the conference is now open, but we think that the conference model should be changed completely. We don't think that leaders should be elected in a conference anymore. We're campaigning for one ANC member, one vote, elections outside the conference, so that all ANC members can take part in electing the next ANC president, not through conferences. The conferences are the source of capture. The conferences are the source of capture. We don't want these conferences anymore. Mangaung, Pulukwani, and so on, etc. That's where the ANC is captured, at the conferences. We want one ANC member, one vote, so that all ANC members can take individual and collective accountability for the future of ANC, not through conferences. Every member must take responsibility. That's what we believe in, not conferences anymore.
All right.
We want to wish away the conference.
Ntate Makgoale, thank you so much for your time.